Hello, sir.
Hello. Yes. Good morning. And we will start the second session of the CBSE Class 11 Economics for the year 2023-24. So this is the unit 2, which is collection, organization, and presentation of data for part A of statistics for economics. So before moving ahead, are there any doubts from the previous session?
No, no doubt, sir.
Okay. So what do we know about collection, organization, and presentation of data?
Uh, Collection would be the collecting of the information, like through surveys
So
and
they are
stuff.
the sources of data which can be collected.
Yes.
So the sources of data can be classified in two types, statistical and non-statistical. Statistical sources refer to data that is gathered from official purpose, incorporate censuses, and officially administered surveys. Non-static statistical surveys refer to the collection of data for other administrative purposes or for the private sector. So governments collect data in the form of census and they
Yeah.
administer surveys as well. Do they administer surveys for cleanliness in the country?
Or,
Do they
yeah,
administer surveys for cleanliness like Swachh Bharat?
yeah,
Okay, so they rank the cities based on cleanliness or based on the data collected through surveys.
yeah.
Okay, and what can be the official purpose?
Uh, Cleanliness would be like,
Yeah.
would be able to prevent some diseases and stuff.
Yes. So there's a ministry which collects all the data regarding cleanliness, known as the Ministry for Cleanliness and Urban Development as well. Have you heard of these ministries?
I think so, yeah.
It is Ministry for Cleanliness and Sanitation, which comes under
Mm.
the Urban
Mm.
Development and Swachh Bharat Mission as well. So we will go to
Yeah.
the next slide. The sources of data have two types of data, which are primary and secondary data. We will cover the primary data first. We'll look at the examples and move ahead. So the primary data is also called raw data, which is collected first-hand by the researchers. The primary data is collected according to the objectives laid out by the research. Apart from academic purposes, the primary data is also collected by the corporates, brands to assess the public's perception and work on the development of the brand name. So even before the launch of a new product, a market survey is conducted by the brands to ascertain the probable markets, probable customer groups, and geographical locations to promote their products. The companies keep collecting the primary data, conducting market research and surveys to evaluate and collect their policies. Apart from the brands and researchers, the NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations, developmental organizations, and think tanks, also undertake the primary data collection to assess social scenarios before planning their inventions and suggesting the policies. The primary data is collected via the research tools of questionnaires, personal interviews, behavior observations, one-to-one conversations, online and offline surveys. So it is the first-hand collection of data by the researchers is known as primary data. So
Okay.
what are corporates? Can they be called corporate companies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What else is there under primary data? There are examples of research tools such as questionnaires, personal interviews. So in
One-to-one
statistics, the
conversation.
sampling method or sampling data is a process of studying the population by gathering information and analyzing that data. It is the basis of the data where the sample space is enormous. There are several different sampling techniques available and they can be subdivided into two groups. All these methods of sampling may involve specifically targeting harder approach to reach groups. Okay. So we will study the methods of sampling in which basic data is collected. So to analyze and make decisions about a certain business, sales, etc., data will be collected. This collected data will help in making some conclusions about the performance of a particular business. Thus, data collection is essential to analyze the performance of a business unit, solving a problem, and making assumptions of specific things when required. So, are we clear with these concepts of methods of sampling? Introduction.
Yes.
Okay. So, there are the forms of collecting data, also known as the methods of collecting data. First method of collecting data is the observation method. Observation method is used when the study relates to behavioral science. This method is planned systematically. It is subject to many controls and checks. The different types of observations are structured and unstructured observation, controlled and uncontrolled observation, participant, non-participant, and disguised observation. So observation means studying something in detail.
Yes.
The next method of collecting data is the interview method. We have seen a lot of interviews in televisions and in
Yeah.
platforms like YouTube.
Yeah.
So, are they collecting data in that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. How are they collecting such data? Do they just, the interviewer asks questions to the interviewee?
No, yeah. Yeah. They ask questions. And
Okay.
then, yeah.
So, it is achieved in two ways, such as personal interview. In this method, a person known as an interviewer is asked or is required to ask questions face to face to the other person. The personal interview can be structured or unstructured, direct investigation, focused conversation, etc. Can we name examples for personal interview?
The news, like when they call
Yes,
in somebody.
yes.
Uh,
Other than that, do we have any doubts?
like, no.
And are there any examples for personal interview in apart from news?
Um, Maybe like shows where people
Yes,
call
yes.
in.
Shows also.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there
Um,
are a lot of interviews on the platform of YouTube as well. They can also be termed as personal interviews,
yeah.
like in
Yeah.
podcasts.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you heard of the term podcasts?
Yeah. Yes.
Can that also be named as an interview where they're collecting data as
Yes.
such?
Yes.
Okay. So the next type of interview method is telephonic interview. In this method, an interviewer obtains information by contacting people on the telephone to ask questions. So, are there any examples for telephonic interview? Do they conduct interviews on telephone by big corporates?
Not sure.
Are there surveys conducted on telephone as well, where we have to give or rank from 1 to 10 for a specific
Um,
telecommunication company like Vodafone? Do they conduct
yeah, there
surveys on
might be.
telephone itself?
Yeah.
There's something called as a pre-recorded interview where the interviewee or the people on the telephone have to answer questions regarding the service delivered or
Okay.
provided by Vodafone company.
Okay.
And the other examples of telephonic interview are just to collect product information.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So the third method of collecting data or primary data is questionnaire method. In this method, the set of questions are mailed to the respondent. They should read, reply, and subsequently return the questionnaire. The questions are printed in the definite order on the form. A good survey should have the following features: short and simple, should follow a logistical sequence, provide adequate space for answers, avoid technical terms, should have good physical appearance such as color, quality of the paper to attract the attention of the respondent. So we can conduct the questionnaires in research projects, specifically in undergraduation, where there'll be a research project and we need to collect data. So we form questionnaires and give it to the respondents. Let's
Mm,
say we are having at least 120 respondents. So we hand each one of them a questionnaire. Let's say, for
okay.
example, for a research project of the impact of yoga on the overall well-being. So
Yeah.
we have questionnaires such as how does yoga impact the interviewee or the respondent. So they have to give it, they have to answer in multiple choice questions as well. Yes.
Yeah. This is also like census. The census
Yeah.
kind of.
Yes. Yes. Census also has details asking the age or the
Okay.
income. They'll have four options in that as well. And there'll be
Yeah.
something called as uh, screening questionnaires for job applicants as well.
Okay.
Like in a company called Sportskida, they conduct screening questionnaires.
Okay.
Okay, and in the undergraduation, definitely we'll have to utilize all the statistical tools in the economics bachelor's of arts. Well, this will
Okay.
come in very handy during the undergraduation. Okay, and the schedules are the fourth form of collecting data. This method is similar to the questionnaire method with a slight difference. The enumerations are specifically appointed for the purpose of filling the schedules. It explains the aims and projects or the objects of the investigation and may remove misunderstandings if any have come up. Enumerators should be trained to perform their job with hard work and patience. So, what can be termed as schedules?
Um, I didn't understand this one.
Okay, we'll just explain in a simplified manner. It is just a plan for carrying out a process or a procedure. Are there
Okay.
schedules formed even before we undertake any trip?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there will be a departure time as well. It is scheduled much
Yeah.
before we leave.
Yeah.
Okay. What can be a very simplified example for it? A schedule is just a tool
Um,
or instrument used to collect data from the respondents while interview is conducted. Schedule contains questions, statements, and blank spaces or tables for filling up the respondents.
Okay.
So there are differences
So it's
between
just
questionnaire and schedule.
uh
Yeah.
okay.
The schedule method of data collection can be utilized irrespective of the respondent's literacy. It can be used when the respondents are literate and can be used even when the respondents are illiterate. Whereas in questionnaire method of data collection is preferred when the respondents are willing to cooperate. The respondents need to be literate in questionnaires, whereas in schedule they need not be literate. They can be illiterate as well. The
Okay.
type of technique used in the schedule method is qualitative, whereas in the questionnaire method, it is a technique used which is known as quantitative. The questionnaire will have specific numbers in the questionnaires that is known as quantitative technique, whereas in schedules it is qualitative techniques. In the schedule method of data collection, the grouping may exist or may not exist. Answers in the schedule method of data collection are filled by research workers, enumerators. In the schedule method, there is direct person contact of the respondents with the enumerators. The cost incurred in the schedule method of data collection is very expensive since there's a cost involved in preparing the schedule, cost incurred on enumerators in addition to the training imparted to them.
Okay.
So there's a lot of features of schedules. Are there any examples specifically for schedule?
Um
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So we'll just remember the key features of it. We may not have to give any examples as of now.
Okay.
Okay, and the essentials of a good schedule are they should have good content, they should have good context, it should suit the context in which it is applied, and it should be constructively drafted, and language should be clear and reliable.
Okay.
So the next form of sources of data is secondary data. So before we move on to the secondary data, are we clear with the methods of collecting data?
Yeah.
So there's the observation method, interview method, questionnaires, and schedules. So if there's in a assessment test, uh, we might have to answer many questions on 5 marks and 10 marks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just keep this all in the required list for answering as well. Let's all make it assessment and exam friendly. So how many assessments do we have in a single year for class 11?
Um 4, I think.
Okay, are they called continuous evaluation in CBSE?
I think they're called units, like unit 1, unit
Okay,
2.
the unit tests, which are four, and
Yeah.
we have two exams, which is the
Yes.
midterm and the final exam, right?
Yes.
Okay, is it called a summative assessment?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so we will go to the secondary data. Secondary data is data collected by someone other than the actual user. It means that the information is already available and someone analyzes it. The secondary data includes magazines, newspapers, books, journals, etc. It may be either published data or unpublished data. Published data are available in various sources, including government publications, public records, historical and statistical documents, business documents, technical and trade journals. So it is not like a primary form of data where there is first-hand information collected. It is rather collected by someone other than the actual user himself or herself. It means that
Yeah.
the information is already available and someone just analyzes it. The secondary data includes magazines, newspapers, books, journals, etc. It may be either published data or unpublished data. So they are available in the
Yeah.
form of government publications, records, historical, statistical documents. Historical documents can be also any scriptures.
Yeah.
Okay. They can be any mythological scriptures or any historical books as well. Business documents and technical trade journals are very contemporary.
Yeah.
So, Census of India falls under method of data collection. Can we term it as primary or secondary data?
Primary.
Okay. Census is one of the most important topics in general awareness. Many questions are asked from the Census of India. Here we are going to discuss the Census of 2011. Census is conducted in every 10 years. So the next census will be conducted in 2021. But it has not been carried out because of the COVID pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it had to be conducted during the year of 2021. What is the census? Census is nothing more than a process of gathering, compiling, analyzing, evaluating, publishing, and disseminating in population statistical data. It covers demographic, social, and economic data and is provided on a specific date. When was the first census conducted in India? It was conducted during the years 1865 to 1872. It,
Okay.
but whereas in the history or historical statements, census operations started in India long back during the period of the Maurya dynasty.
Yeah.
It has been systemized during the years 1865 to 1872, though it has been conducted uninterruptedly from the year 1881, being a trustworthy resource of information. So
So,
are we clear? Okay,
I have one question.
yeah.
Will they not conduct the census that was supposed to be conducted in 2021, or will they just go to 2031 and
They will
conduct
conduct
again?
for the year 2021, probably in the next year as well, because there'll be new forms of collection of data this time through use of technology.
Oh,
So
okay.
it will be conducted, but it will be a delayed census
Okay.
because we are already in the year 2023. So it might have to be conducted in the next 1 year.
Okay.
And how do they use census? They use it to measure the population.
Huh?
They use to measure the population through a census.
Yeah, they also used to measure other stuff too, right? Like uh, birth to death ratio,
Yes,
education rate, and
yes.
uh, health, uh,
Do they
healthcare.
also measure population density?
Yes,
Okay. So actually, census falls under the secondary data because it is not for primary data.
but they get it's like a questionnaire, right?
Yeah, it is a questionnaire, but they do rely on demographic, social, and economic data, which is already being collected in the previous census. So based on that, they'll set the questions.
Oh, yeah.
And there are new forms of technology used during census as well. So we might have to turn secondary data as for the example, secondary data can be Census of India as well. And it also
Okay.
collects information like household size because it is collected from each household in India.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
also collect the information of citizens' ages and incomes as well. through which they will find out the average income of the country.
Okay.
Yes. And there is a specific website for the Census of India as well. It's known as the, I'll just write it on the screen, which can be looked forward as well. So, which ministry does the Census of India fall under?
Um, I don't know. I, I don't remember.
It falls under the Ministry of Home Affairs, which also,
Sir, your voice is breaking.
and it also falls under the Office of the Registered and General and Census Commissioner of India.
Sir, can you repeat that? Sorry,
Is
my
it
dad
audible now?
is. Yeah.
Okay. And the website is known as, I'll just have to put it out.
Okay.
Have you ever visited the Census of India website?
Not this website
Okay.
that you are typing on.
Because previously, when the 2011 census was conducted, you used to go to the website to find out the population, the ages, the size of households, average national income.
Oh,
So HTTPS uh, slash censusindia.gov.in is the official website of Census of India from the Government of India. Falls under the
okay.
Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. And also there's a Census Commissioner who takes out the exercise. So it's known as the Office of the Registrar General.
What is that?
So this is the official or official who undertakes the exercise or under whom the census officials operate.
Okay.
And this is a website and the ministry has been listed as well. So we might have to look about it maybe in the next sessions.
Okay.
So there's another concept called as National Sample Survey Organization. Have you heard of this NSSO of India?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, National Sample Survey was set up on the recommendations of the National Income Committee in 1950 and was chaired by the late Professor P.C. Mahalanobis. Right?
Okay. Yes.
So the professor was P.C. Mahalanobis, who set up the National Sample Survey in 1950. The basic aim behind setting up National Sample Survey was to fill up the large gaps in statistical data to calculate the national income aggregates, especially related to the unorganized or the household sector of the economy. In 1970 March, NSS was reorganized as National Sample Survey Organization. It is an organization in the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and it is the largest organization in India that conducts regular social economic surveys. The data collected through these surveys on various socio-economic subjects are released through reports and quarterly issued journals. Survey. So, are we clear about the concept of National Sample Survey Organization?
Yes.
Any clarifications needed regarding it?
No.
Okay. So, the next is the organization of data. A variable is any entity that can take different values. So, are there any doubts up till this concept of National Sample Survey Organization? Because we
Mm,
might have to continue the Unit 2 in the next session on the 24th of May at
okay,
11 a.m. as well.
okay.
So, are there any doubts regarding National Sample Survey Organization?
No, no doubts.
So, what departments does the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation have? Are there one related to statistics and others program implementation?
What? What is the question?
There are two wings of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So one wing
Yeah.
is the statistics and the other is the program implementation. The statistics wing consists of the National Sample Survey Office or the National Sample Survey Organization.
Okay.
And the
But
other,
it says Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation.
yes, uh, and the NSSO falls under the Ministry of Statistics or under the statistics wing
Okay.
because they involve a collection of large number of data as well.
Okay.
So what wing falls under the program implementation wing? Is there a
The
20-point program?
a 20 point.
Yeah. Under the program implementation,
Um.
we have heard of Member of Parliament, local area development. So that falls under
Yeah.
the program implementation.
Okay. Okay.
So there are statistics collected for the economy and based on the policies made, they're implemented, which is known as program implementation. So there's the funds allocated for program implementation as well. Okay, so any doubts till now? Can we move to the next
Um.
concept?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so organization of data. A variable is any entity that can take different values. The types of variables are dependent variables. The dependent variable is characterized as a variable whose state quality depends on the estimation of another variable. So have we heard of the variable concept in class 10
Yeah.
economics as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What can be termed as inter or independent variables?
Um. The They just don't change. So
Okay.
they. Yeah.
Okay. Independent variables represent variables whose values do not depend on change, right?
Yeah.
And dependent variables is characterized as a variable whose state quality depends on the estimation of another variable, right?
Yes.
Okay. And control variables, the values of these variables are affected by the change in independent variables. Random variables are mathematical forms of quantities or objects that depend on random events. Categorical variables, also known as a qualitative variable, it's a variable that can take one of a limited number of normally fixed numbers of possible values. So
Okay.
are we clear with the control variables?
So,
So
yeah.
these variables are changed due to independent variables and
But
random variables. Yeah,
independent variables, they don't change. So
yeah,
control variables, they also shouldn't change.
they are affected by the change. So yeah. So are there
Yeah.
any examples for control variables? You can list it out on the
Um,
whiteboard as well.
um, I don't know.
Okay. What are random variables? Any examples for random variables?
Um, like the number of accidents that happen.
Are
It's
there
random.
random variables called as variable whose value is unknown, or a function that assigns values to each of an experiment's outcomes?
Yeah,
So, can we name any examples for random variables? Can it be a outcome of a coin toss,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How can a coin toss be a random event?
Because the outcome is random. It can be
Yeah,
either be
it
heads
can
or
either be
tails.
tails or heads.
Yeah.
And any other examples for categorical variables?
Um. Uh.
Any examples for categorical variables, which can be
Uh.
defined even in reality as well?
uh I, I, I don't know.
Okay. Can we look it up on Google?
Okay.
Yeah.
1 second.
Can list it out on the whiteboard for the examples of categorical variables.
Oh, okay. Should It'll be race, sex, age group, and education level.
Okay. You can list it out. Yeah.
Uh. The annotation thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can be written on the whiteboard. That's what, yeah.
Okay. Um. mm,
It's right next to the screen share. There's something called as a whiteboard. There you can.
Yeah, you got it. Um. Uh. I wrote it down, but I don't know how to
Okay.
like.
Is it coming up on the screen? Not able to see it. Under new share, there's something called as, yeah. Now you can write it down. Under new share,
Uh.
there's
On
something
a
called
new
whiteboard
shell.
set on the second after the screen, next to the screen. Yeah, that's right.
Um.
That's right. Yeah. So it is education level and anything other than that.
Uh. There was
Race.
race, sex, and
Okay.
education level and age group. But
Okay. What are the age groups under this?
like like under 14 years, they would have to get education. That
Okay.
I don't know, age groups would be like 12 to 18, then
Yes. And education
19
level,
to
can it
something.
be from first standard or to post graduation?
Yeah,
Yes.
that
Also,
would
there is
be.
PhD in education as well. So, any
Yeah.
examples of education other than this?
Degrees,
A bit more louder.
degrees,
Okay. Other than that,
masters,
okay.